Hello, this is Italo Vignoli from the Document Foundation. Today I'm going to talk to you about the 10th anniversary of LibreOffice and the story of the global FOSS community. On July 19, 2000, Sun announced OpenOffice.org. 10 years after, September 28, 2010, the OpenOffice.org community announced LibreOffice. At the time, OpenOffice.org was acquired by Oracle within the acquisition of Sun Microsystem, and it was clear since day one that it was not a strategic product from Oracle. So the community decided that it was time to create its own project and its own foundation. So we announced the Document Foundation because we wanted to drive the product ourselves. As community members, we wanted enterprises within the community, but we wanted the community to be on the driving seat. We chose the brand LibreOffice because Oracle and IBM at the time refused to give the community the OpenOffice.org brand. We relaunched the innovation, exactly what is portrayed in this graphic. OpenOffice was under the risk of abandon. We relaunched the software. We decided to innovate it and improve it over the years. This is a research from a Swedish university, and it shows on the left what happened 10 months before the fork, and on the right 10 months after the fork in terms of contribution. As you can see, the fork was originating a diversity in the community that was not there before, as Sun was really in control of the entire project, not only in terms of development, but also in terms of managing the community. So we decided that our founding principles were the copyleft license, no contributor agreement, meritocracy, community governance, and vendor independence. After 10 years, we can say that these were a very good choice because they have allowed LibreOffice to grow, the Document Foundation to grow. This is the first website of the Document Foundation. It's a little bit old according to current visual habits, but it's still valid in terms of contents. We wanted a self-governing meritocratic entity created by the community. And of course, without the developers, we couldn't have LibreOffice. So let's see what the developers have done over the years. First of all, they've created the concept of the easy acts. The LibreOffice code is 7 million lines of code, so it's not easy to deal with, especially for a newcomer. So developers have fractioned the challenges in small hacks that were accessible even to young developers. And this has allowed, as you can see from this chart, a fast growth of the number of developers. Each month, we were able to attract new developers. Of course, in October 2010, as you can see, we attracted a very large number of people that were excited by the announcement. But then we were able to attract them over the years, every month, for 10 years. And this is an extraordinary achievement if you think that in the past, the code of OpenOffice was thought to be very difficult to deal with. Developers have created unit tests to improve the quality of the product. As you can see, there has been a growth in unit tests and asserts over time. They have, and not only developers, but also volunteers, have translated German comments in the source code to English to make the source code more accessible to a global community of developers. So, in general, in 10 years, we have achieved a reduced footprint of the software. We have renovated the code, removed the useless lines of dead code, deprecated libraries, translated German comments to English, and also used a better C++ construct, which are more modern than in the past. In general, we have paid a substantial technical debt that was there in 2010. In terms of organization over the last 2 years, this is the split of commit on Gits. As you can see, there are a couple of companies contributing a significant amount of code, but also a significant amount of code is contributed by volunteers. And this makes the project healthy, because we don't rely, as in the past, for over 60% to a single company. We use automatic security and quality tools when possible. So this is the scan of Coverity. When we achieved the record 0 defect, we still are at a 0.00 defect density, which is extremely important, because you have a solid source code to build on. We also use fuzzing tools. This is Google OSS-Fuzz, but we use others, as you can see from this chart. Over the years, we have used different fuzzing tools to discover vulnerabilities, to discover weaknesses in the code. And of course, without the community, developers would not be able to bring the software to the global community of users. So this chart is from the dashboard, the LibreOffice dashboard, and shows the number of questions and comments on Ask LibreOffice. There is over the last 2 years, over the last couple of years. There is a continuous flow of questions and a continuous flow of answers. This is all managed by volunteers. And this, always from the dashboard, gives you an overview of the community activity. The bar on the right is about the core committers. Then you have the regular ones, and then you have the casual ones. As you can see, there is a stable number of contributors over the months. Of course, there are fluctuations due to the seasonality in some cases. In terms of numbers, the core contributors are producing around 80% of the code, and the regular one around 15%, and the casual one about the remaining 6%. So in general, the community is healthy. We are able to produce a software which is backed by a community, and the community is really global. This is a map of where in dark green you can see the community member, the countries where there are community members, and in light green the countries where there is a community active on LibreOffice, but not specific community members. We have now some additional countries where there are members, but the situation is evolving, and the number of members is increasing. Localization teams are growing. We use WebLate. We moved from Poodle recently. We have 145 active languages, and around 120 are shipped. There are over 4,500 users and over 400,000 translations. This makes LibreOffice as probably the software available in the highest number of languages, and it's important because this also is protecting some native languages that are under risk of extinctions. In these cases, we try to provide a localized version of LibreOffice. In terms of users, these are estimates based on the global number of PC users, which are between 2 and 3 billions, 90% Windows, 80% macOS, and 2% Linux. We have 100% of desktop Linux users, 10% of desktop Windows users, and 10% of desktop macOS users. In general, this accounts for over 250 million users now, but we consider 200 million to be conservative in terms of numbers. The increase with the recent situation of the virus spreading around the world, we have seen an increase of downloads. Is probably the number of users has increased because many users that were not using an Office suite at home have probably decided to download LibreOffice for their personal and in some cases for their work activity. These are donations. The project is backed by donations. We have a number of over 60,000 donors per year, and we are close to 1 million euro in terms of amount. Donations also have slightly increased with the current unfortunate situation. LibreOffice is the product is available in 2 versions. LibreOffice Fresh, which is the latest version. We suggest it to power users, to people that are willing to test and use the latest feature. Of course, might be in some cases slightly less stable than LibreOffice Still, which is the previous version, is also available in a long-term supported version. We suggest it to enterprises and is backed by professional support provided by certified individuals. Of course, support and LTS version, which are provided by the issue companies, are not for free because they assume that there is a professional activity behind. That's all. I hope you have enjoyed the presentation. Our dream is that at a certain point we will win. I'm sure that together we will do. Thank you very much. These are my personal and work email. I'm happy to answer your questions if you have some. Thank you, and hopefully goodbye to next year in person.